Oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. I have honestly, I've hit the big time. I know I had the NIT champion on Wednesday. I had the Final Four coach on yesterday, and they were just the warm-ups for these three guys right here. I went and got the giants of small college basketball. Today, I have Westchester University's Damien Blair. I have Wilmington University's Dan Burke and Bloomfield College. Am I right, Gerald? I don't want to get that wrong.
That's correct.
Bloomfield College's Gerald Holmes. What's up, gentlemen? How you guys doing?
Yeah, family's doing well. Doing real well.
We're taking advantage of.
Go ahead. What was you saying?
No, I was going to say we're taking advantage of the time together. We have a 2-year-old daughter, so it's good to be around her and staying healthy.
Well, Damien, you got high school age kids. You the what are you, the French tutor, history tutor? What are you doing?
No, I cannot be a tutor in any of those subjects. You know what I mean? That's all my wife. She's taking care of that. You know, it's crazy though, because I got 4 kids, and I tell you what, they're handling it pretty well. You know, they got their routines. They get up. You know, they're doing their academics, their Zoom calls, and then you know they all play different sports, whether it be basketball, you know, lacrosse or soccer. So they got their workout routines, and then you know after dinner we do a little family activity. So a couple of you guys might see me in some TikToks and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I can't get out of that. But
just be on rhythm, man. Be on rhythm.
I know. How about that?
Yo, I got a question before we even get into it. You know, yesterday it came out that the NCAA is just going to go with a 2.2 and no test scores for you guys. If you think back over the last 4 or 5 years, how many kids would you say you were involved with something like that would have really helped out, maybe would have made a difference?
Well, I can speak to this year. There are 3 kids that we're involved with that are right on the border.
And that makes a big difference.
And we're looking at every scenario to get them eligible. And as soon as they came out with this legislation yesterday, they were automatically eligible.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it was 3 big time kids too. So, I mean, that put us in a totally different position recruiting wise. And in the past, it would have definitely helped us as well. So, I mean, the new legislation is coming out with the portal and all of this stuff. It's drastically changing our game, drastically.
Gerald?
In our case, I don't think I've been involved with many. I've been really trying hard to find better students. So I don't know that I've been involved with too many borderline guys over the last few years. Not coming out of high school, maybe with some transfers, you know, been closer with lower GPAs but not with the test score issue.
Dan? Is Dan still with us?
Did Dan just freeze? He looks frozen.
He looks frozen.
That's got to be him.
Maybe an internet.
There he is.
Dan, you there?
Sorry about that, guys.
So could you hear the question, Dan?
I heard the question, yes. Yeah, we're always involved with multiple guys that are right on that borderline, like Damien. And there weren't here. I'm not sure why. I think it was more just coincidence. But every year, you know, I can name 3 or 4 guys last year that it really would have helped immediately. You know, so I think it's a good thing, especially considering the situation that we're in now.
Well, you know, it's just a one-time thing. We have to take what we can get from those people in, where they at, Indianapolis these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we take what we can get, but we thank them for the 1-year reprieve. All right. I got to ask, man, how many of you guys planned on winning the national championship before all this stuff happened?
I can tell you very quickly, it wasn't Dan or myself. we both got smacked pretty good in the conference semifinals on the same day. So
okay.
It was up to Damien to bring that home.
Yeah, my season ended about an hour and a half before Gerald. So
exactly.
So now y'all gonna put that pressure on me, huh? I see how it is.
He's talking about this year, Damien.
I know. Well, I'll tell you what, man. We were rolling, and I thought we had a great opportunity to make a run at it with a real young team. You know, we were starting 2 freshmen, a sophomore, and 2 seniors. We're 13-0, 10th in the country for multiple weeks, and then the bottom dropped out. Almost like, you know, that stimulus check that I was supposed to get. That dropped too. I didn't get that either. But you know, part of the reason why we struggled was, you know, a lot of coaches get hit with that injury bug. And we definitely got hit with the injury bug. We got sick. Every single person on our team either had the flu, pneumonia, a cough, you name it. And then it was just tough getting back on track, you know. And then by the time we got back on track, it was just too little, too late. So I'm looking forward to next year already.
Yeah, the injury bug was a factor in us having a subpar season also. So we had a junior big guy that missed the entire year. My point guard was hurt all year. He was never 100%. And a couple other guys got hurt as well. So factored into us having a slightly subpar season.
Well, look, I talk to you guys, all of y'all, pretty regularly, especially Dan and Gerald. See, you know, Damien, like he was just, you know, number 3 in the country and all that. Sometimes hard to get through on his phone. But I talk to Gerald.
Well, here's the problem. I go to bed at a reasonable hour. You know, Dell is like a cell phone. He just plugs himself in and recharges. I mean, he's sending out text messages at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? I got to get to bed. I got to get my rest.
So, look, I know what you guys do. So I have a lot of respect for all 3 of the programs. But I don't think most of the parents out there, and especially the prospective student athletes, I don't think they really understand some of the nuances between Division I, Division II basketball. So I want you guys, either whoever feels most comfortable can take a crack at it, but take a few minutes and explain the difference between the head count or full scholarship and the equivalency scholarship, so parents understand what you guys are talking about when they call.
Well, I could talk a little bit to it. I think it's a huge misconception that, you know, if you get a Division II scholarship, you're getting a full ride. Mm-hmm. And I think the parents need to make sure that they do their due diligence to make sure that scholarship is what they say it's going to be. Now, Division II, we're only allowed.
How can they do that? Can they? Could the school put something in writing?
Well, there is something that the school puts in writing, but you also got to ask the right questions. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, like when you put an offer out there and say the kid is getting a scholarship from a Division II school, some coaches may be just talking about the tuition. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Whereas you still have room and board, and some people include books. But, you know, I keep 14, maybe 15 kids on my roster. Well, by NCAA rules, you technically can only give scholarships out to 10. Mm-hmm. You know, well, we only give out 6.5 in equivalencies, but IUP may give out 10. Mercyhurst and Gaddon definitely give out 10. So it's not all equitable. You know, you have some schools that are only giving out 3.5. So our job is to try to package
what's the minimum at the D2 level? What's the minimum?
10.
The maximum.
Yeah. I'm saying maximum. I don't think there is a minimum.
I don't think there's a minimum.
No? You can be D2 and not offer any scholarships?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't think there's a minimum that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I don't think there's a minimum.
Gerald and Dan, is the variation as great in your league as it is what Damien just described?
Within the league, there are definitely some variations. I'm not sure necessarily how far they go. I don't necessarily know exactly what everyone has.
Are you guys near the top of the food chain?
We probably are.
They up there eating. They eating up there.
Yeah. Says the guy that started out, 13-0 this year? Something like that? No, but we have the ability to cover everything.
For 10 guys?
we can actually probably get to more, depending on how I work and how I finesse it, I might be able to do it for more than 10. That's where kind of your question kind of comes in. So our school issues institutional aid. Basically, anyone that gets accepted we went to a model 2 years ago where any out-of-state student that gets admitted automatically gets $15,000. That applies out-of-state or even international. Wow. So if I give them the difference, technically speaking, from their standpoint, they're getting a full, but it's not actually a full athletic scholarship.
Yeah.
They're getting everything covered, but it's not a full. There's no reason for me. I can't give out a full athletic scholarship at this point because the school's giving institutional aid to anyone that gets admitted. And then you factor in the FAFSA, Pell, in-state grant, which in New Jersey is called TAG, tuition aid grant. So that's how most of us recruit. We look for kids that get the most possible monies elsewhere so that we can give them the least that we need to cover everything or whatever we want to offer them.
So you don't want rich kids?
I mean,
play.
Basically, if you're looking at two different kids and you think they're the same player, and the one kid gets everything, Pell, Tag, so on and so forth, and the other kid gets nothing, yeah, I'm probably going with the poorer kid.
Dan?
Sorry to say it like that, but
yeah. So we have a pool of money. So we don't have individual full scholarships to give out. So we have a pool of money. So I'll start with our cost of attendance. Our tuition is very low compared to most other 4 years. So last year we were at $372 per credit. So if you're taking 30 credits for the year, you're looking at about $11,000 in tuition.
Wow.
Now, the other thing we have that's unique is we don't have dorms. So we factor in a cost of about $7,000 over that tuition.
What is wrong with Dan?
Yeah, we lost him again.
Wilmington's not paying him enough. The internet.
Yeah, he on his neighbor's internet, man. He got to get on his own internet, man. See, now I'm gonna be honest. The high major boys don't have these problems.
Oh man. Oh man.
This makes sense though.
Yeah. It's part
for
of
us and for us low budget guys. This makes sense.
He didn't come back yet?
No, not yet.
Oh man.
We got to piece it together.
How about on the court? Look, I saw Bloomfield play at Seton Hall early in the year. Then I didn't see it, but I heard about your game at LaSalle. And a few years ago, I sat in the deck and I watched Garrett Kerr and the Sciences put Bruiser to sleep, man. I mean, they beat him at home. What are the main differences between the better D2 programs such as yours and the NEC, America East, MEAC teams? What are we talking about just in terms of the on-the-court product, the basketball? How big a gap is there, if there is one at all?
In my opinion, there isn't any gap as far as the basketball is concerned. We if in a year where I'm good and Damien's good, we're probably just as good as any of those teams in those leagues. The difference generally is probably 1.5 inches to 2 inches per position, and even more specifically probably at the 4 or 5 spots. We don't where they might have 3 guys that are.
Welcome back, man. Welcome back.
I'm sure Frank Martin and Pat Chambers had that high quality internet. This is what you get for working with D2 guys. So,
that's what we said, Dan.
Hey, I was rolling too, man. I was rolling. I need that.
Well, finish giving your answer, man. I want the people to hear what you're doing down at Wilmington.
Yeah. So right. So what I was saying was similar to Gerald in that the more Pell a kid gets, the more we can package them. So we get a pool of money and we have a tuition of $372 per credit. So if you're taking 30 credits for the year, that's about $11,000. So when you factor in cost of attendance being about $7,000 over that, if a kid gets a full Pell, which I think was about $6,000 last year, we can make up a pretty good portion of that balance. Most likely to get a kid down to zero. you know, a $0 balance. And, you know, that's how we do things.
And the question that these guys were answering is, in terms of the on-the-court product, what is the real difference between what you guys do when you're having, you know, say a really good year and what you would see if you went to an America East, NEC, or MEAC game?
So what I was saying, I'm sorry, Dan, because when you came back, I kind of got cut off. But basically, you know, those teams, like I said, 1.5 inches to 2 inches per position, and especially at the 4 and 5, they might have 3 guys, you know, 6'8" to 6'10", and we've got 3 guys 6'6" to maybe 6'8" if we're lucky. But the quality of play is no different at all. And I'll throw this in while I'm talking. When I'm recruiting a guy who's getting looks at that level, I will mention to him the prospects of, in an effort to try to sell him, the prospects of postseason play. Because if you're going to a high D2, now you got to have a chance, you know, to win some championships and go into the NCAA tournament and maybe, you know, make a deep run. Whereas if you're in those lower level Division I leagues,
You have to win your league.
You got to win it, and then you're going to see, you know, Duke or Kentucky or somebody in the first round.
Yes,
and that's it. So that's
Yeah.
my take.
I think it's resources. As you can see, obviously Coach Burke needs the resources with the technology issues he's having. But you know, I try to compare it to, you know, playing inside on a nice floor with brand new nets and air conditioning to playing out in the hard top where you might be playing in a pond or with some glass, no nets, and guys are just getting after it. I don't think it's much different. You know what I mean? I have a lot of officials that officiate both of those leagues, our league and, you know, low Division I leagues, and they say they prefer our brand of basketball better. You know, I think what the difference is like Coach said, the bigs might be a little bit bigger, but the guards are about the same. And I think mentally our kids are not sure if they can beat those guys, but, you know, they can compete against them. But if you play against them every single night, you start to develop that mentality that, yeah, I can beat these guys. Mm-hmm. So if you take the top 8 teams in our league and you put them in any one of those leagues, year in, year out, I think we're middle of the pack or at the top.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with what they both said. You know, I think the biggest difference that I see is that, you know, the bigs at D1 are just bigger. The last D1 game we played was 2 years ago. We played Morgan State. We lost by 7. And what the difference was, they had 6'7", 6'8" guys. We had 6'4", 6'5" guys. You know, that's the biggest thing. But when you compare the speed, the skill, the quickness of our guards and our wings, I don't really think that the difference between where we play and your low to mid majors is that different.
Now, I've been to all of you guys' gyms. Now, I take issue with Damien's comment about your stuff, Dan, because your gym, it's small, but it's very modern, very new, very clean. Hey, Damien, you better go see what he's working with there. He's got one.
I played in that gym. I played in both of those gyms. But my point was this. If I go up to Bloomfield and play a game, there's a good chance we'll come out of there with some broken nose, some stitches.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're coming after you in that little tight gym.
And that's Gerald, that's an HBCU, man.
Wilmington's the same way. You know what I mean? It's tight in there. You know, Dan's not letting you get out of there with no easy win. You know, his kids are
we owe you next year for this year, man. That was
they coming after you, man. That's no joke.
Yeah.
It's a war. I mean, you know, when you played pickup, you know, back in the parks when you were growing up, if you lost, that was it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's the feel when you're playing, whether it's, you know, non-league games or league games. Every single game is a war. And when I watch some of those lower level games, it doesn't feel that way to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And even in those leagues, there are some places where the facilities are more or less palatial. UMBC, I took a trip down there. I was absolutely blown away by what those guys have at their disposal every day. It's spectacular. I mean, it really is gorgeous. Even Coppin State, if you've been there recently, you know, I mean, really first rate. I mean, better than what LaSalle and St. Joe's are playing in, man. Actually, it's not close. You throw Monmouth in there. I mean, some of these smaller programs, so that is a difference. Then that kind of comes into the next question. When you guys have to recruit, what do you think the big difference is between the way you have to approach it and the way the D1 guys have to approach it? Gerald, you go first.
You said, what is the difference?
Yeah, I'll ask it like this. If there's a kid you really like, and you think, he's really good, really, really good, do you wait and see if the D1s come because you just don't want to deal with that? Because I know I talk to these kids all the time. They all want to play D1 initially. So do you wait for that wave to kind of come through, not come or whatever, and then make your pitch? Or do you just go after the kid regardless?
Well, I think my opinion is changing a lot just with this year. I've always gone after him in the past, but kids just seem to be waiting more and more and more, and it's very frustrating. So I think going forward, there'll be some kids that I'm going to go ahead and offer early, but I guess I'll also be going off my own opinion as to whether or not they're going to get some D1 looks.
Mm-hmm.
If I think a kid's going to get some D1 looks, I'm probably going to wait because they're waiting longer and longer and longer. I mean, I don't know if this applies, but just to give you an example, I just had a young man brought to my attention last week, and ultimately I offered him last Friday. This guy, now we're not talking compared to D1 because this kid has no other offers, and yet on Tuesday he told me no. He has no other offers and told me no thanks. I said,
the level of self-confidence that these guys have, and I think it comes down to a real lack of understanding of the market that they're in with all this transferring stuff. The D1s don't even want really high school guys if they can get a transfer. Damien, how do you approach that?
I try to ignore all the external factors, what everybody's saying on social media. The only really thing that I consider is if a kid has 7 Division I offers. That's going to be really tough for me to break in to that home and have a conversation about them coming to Westchester. But I try to, like I said, ignore all those other factors and go off of 4 criteria, which we call the 4 S's, size, speed, strength, and skill set. If I see a kid that has those pieces, we're going to go after them. I remember when I first started coaching, and I'm not going to name any names, but there's some Philly gurus out there that, will put their list together and tell you, what kid's Division II, what kid's Division I. And I would say, I like that kid. And they go, he's too high for you. So I would go back and tell my assistants, that's the kid we're going to go after. If he has 1 or 2 Division I offers, we're staying with him. Now, 10 years later, they'll say, he's a low Division I kid, but that's the kid you're supposed to be recruiting, Dame. So, it's a big difference. So I try my best not to worry about what everybody else is saying, and I got to trust my eyes.
Well, your eyes have led you to have NBA players commit to you, man.
I hear you. Now here you go. See now
firsthand, man.
Here he goes, stirring the pot. You talk about my boy Charlie Brown?
Committed to what?
I know. He would have changed my life if I would have got him. I think I'd be on a different call with some better technology and more resources.
That's been a slick one, man. How you get that done, man?
Sliding in the back door.
Yo, Dan, how do you approach this, man?
Yeah, so what I've learned in coaching for 6 years at the D2 level is that succeed, it's not because they have better talent overall than the other teams. It's because the guys mesh so well together. I think once you get below that mid-major D1 level where you're talking about, the exceptional athlete or, what have you, once you get to that low D1 to D2 level, the talent isn't necessarily the separator between the good teams and the teams that don't succeed. It's more the fit. It's more the player's belief in the coach. So, we look for guys that really want to be at Wilmington. You know, if I feel like we get into a recruiting situation where I'm turning into a car salesman and trying to sell, just the way I am personally, you know, that's a big thing. You have to know yourself as a coach. If I feel like I'm begging a kid to come play for us, you know, that might build up some frustration or resentment in me because I want guys that are all in. So, you know, we've recruited some guys that are D1 caliber, I think, but sometimes I kind of have to say, I'm going to step aside because it's pretty obvious you do not want to be here because you're going to get coached hard. So, you know, once that hard coaching comes and you don't really want to be there, it's not going to go well. So
you guys run into kids
Go
that
ahead.
kind of fit that mold that Dan is describing, and he comes to you, and at least initially, the kid feels like he did you a favor. Do you guys run into that?
We try not to let it get that far, I think, where he's with us and acts like that. But, you know, going back to what Dan said, first thing I'm looking for is if a kid plays hard or not. Whereas
if
15
a kid
years
has,
ago,
say he has Albany and Savannah State and low D1s, does that back you up, Gerald, or you keep plowing away at that?
if he actually has offers, it might slow me down a little bit. But, you know, there's other things for me. I'm tying in the last question to this one. We talked about the facilities at some of those low D1s. I'm competing, and Dan probably is too, and maybe Damien a little bit, with D2s that have facilities. You know, I'm competing against Northeast 10s that have tremendous facilities, and they look at my little gym, and a lot of times I lose kids just off of that. You know, all those teams in the Northeast 10 pretty much have very nice facilities. So, and that's in our region, the East region that we play in. So that becomes an issue as well.
Well, if I could touch on that a little bit, Gerald, sometimes I think that's a good thing because if we walk a kid and his family into our gym and I can see on their face that they're not impressed simply because the gym is small, that might tell me they're worried about the wrong things. You know,
well, I agree with, but what I have to try to do is get them to a game.
Right.
Because if you come to a game and see our home game atmosphere, it's a different story. But when you walk into that little gym and it's empty, you know, like you said, some people, the look right away is like, I get oftentimes I get asked, is this where you play your games?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Damien, want to add anything?
Yeah, I get that too. When you can see our gym behind us, it's like it's not one of the best facilities ever, but it's got character. You know what I mean?
It's not modern, but it's a nice gym. It's a nice size.
Right. That's a great way to put it.
And what we try to do is, I'm really struggling with, you know, how kids are wanting to transfer up a level, and you know your program may not be good enough because it's only Division II. And I think that we I don't know where we've got off track, but I thought that, you know, back in the day, we used basketball as a tool to be able to get the keys to open up other doors for us, you know, and now it's just like, I got to play at the highest level. I got to play in front of the most fans, or, you know, I have to be able to get the most media attention. And, you know, for us, we're struggling with being able to balance, you know, trying to appease, you know, parents and kids, and also stay true to our value and our core. So the best thing for us to do is to try to, you know, create an environment where they have a great basketball and academic and college experience. You know, and if we can put those pieces together, then I think we got a good product. And if a kid decides he wants to go elsewhere, I'm hoping that when he gets to wherever he lands, that the grass is not always greener. You know what I mean? And he's like, why did I leave that opportunity? So those are the things that we got to put in place to try to be able to just keep our own and attract good, you know, solid student athletes that are going to graduate and be productive citizens, you know, because that's basically what this is all about.
Now, with the NCAA doing away with the year in residency requirement, kids are going to be allowed to compete immediately without sitting out. Now, I honestly think that low D1s, say the all rookie team in the MAC league, the all rookie NEC, the all rookie Colonial, I think that the high majors are going to just be looking at that every year. Every year, I would imagine within 24 months, you'll probably see 4 out of those 5 kids leave it to go to hire. It actually started this year. Aaron Estrada was Rookie of the Year for St. Peter's. He didn't have any offers other than St. Peter's really coming out of high school. Now he's going to Oregon after his rookie year. In turn, I think one could expect the low D1s to turn around and do that to you guys. You know, kid like Robbie Heath break out 20-something points a game, 8-9 rebounds.
Thanks for bringing that up. Thanks for bringing that up, Del. Appreciate that, bro. Way to stir the pot there.
And they're going to reach out to his people, and they're going to let it be known that, you know, if he somehow hit that portal, because, you know, nobody tampers directly. We know there's no tampering.
Yeah, right. Zero.
But somehow, some way, your kids, especially the freshmen, all rookie, maybe a sophomore kid that makes all league, I just think that these guys are going to, that problem's only going to intensify, Damien. How do you foresee this playing out over the next 4 or 5 years?
I'm frustrated and scared. That's all I can say. Because we're right. I mean, if we're looking for recruit low Division I kids and they fall through the cracks and they wind up doing really well, like Robbie, you know, had a phenomenal year, they're going to want to leave. So to be honest with you, it's scary to have to be able to deal with this every single year, and it's going to have to change the way that you coach.
Yes.
And also the way that you recruit. So some of our conversations that we're having with kids are, you know, if you're here for a year and you do well, is there a possibility that you might be thinking about transferring? I'd prefer to know that, because now I know how to recruit and how to coach this kid. Mm-hmm. You know, as opposed to it's an elephant in the room. Nobody addresses the elephant in the room, and at the end of the year, now we're stuck holding the bag. Mm-hmm. And that's not fair to our alums. It's not fair to the kids that'll be returning the following year. It's a really, really tough situation to be able to have to navigate year in and year out. It's just going to change a lot of things.
Dan, your thoughts?
So I'm going to take a different perspective on it. I think that it's changing our recruiting style a little bit because we're more likely to develop a relationship with a guy that we know we're not going to get, right? So we spoke in the last question about, you know, if a guy has offers, do you not recruit him? Sometimes we almost know we're not going to get a guy out of high school because he's probably going to go to the NEC or MAC or what have you. But if he doesn't get a shot that next year, or if he's pushed off the roster because that school now wants to go get somebody else, now he knows us and he knows we're a viable option. So I'm kind of looking at it from the other way, where we could get guys that are victims more or less of that at the D1 level, and they might fall down to D2. And now they've already used their transfer, so now they're with us for the next 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's just a different, more positive outlook on it from our perspective.
Del, I'm sorry. Can I just add something to that? It's not necessarily even the Division I athlete that fell through the cracks that might be thinking about going back to Division I. It's the kid that was a Division II recruit that was an average high school player. He comes to you and averages 12 to 14 points a game. He's thinking about stepping up to the next level. I mean, you got Luke House had a great freshman year. Not that many people were.
Drexel.
Right, he's off the Drexel. You had a kid at Glenville State averaged about 15 points a game. The kid Taraji Brake, he's going to be doing a 5th year at a low Division I school. I mean, it's like free agency. It's crazy.
Daquan Davis was a great Division III player. He's in the portal trying to find a Division I home. Mm-hmm. So
those might be some of the guys that we have to start looking at.
That's good.
It's a trickle down. You know, one of the low-level Division I head coaches said this to me a few years back. I don't know if it was the same year, but he won his league, and his starting team were all freshmen and sophomores, and then he lost somebody, and he was at my game. His former assistant was coaching against me, and we were talking, and he said, "It's only a matter of time before we start coming to take your guys," and he was right. You know, now the D2 guys are, like we're talking about, moving up, and us D2 guys might have to start glancing at these D3 all-conference teams, and, you know, is this kid a freshman, and is he going to look to move, you know, whatever.
But, you know.
Del, let me ask you a question. That waiver is for the first 4-4 transfer, correct?
Yes.
Right. So, if we get transfers, we know that, they're with us until
They would have to sit out.
right. Right. But I'm saying if we are the first transfer the first 4 to 4
He
transfer.
uses his free one with you, but
Right.
if he leaves, then he would have to sit out a year.
Exactly.
After that would be his second one.
Right.
Right.
So, Gerald talked about the D3s, right? Looking at D3s. I talked about building relationships with guys that might go D1, but you never know, might bounce back. So, the transfer model, that might have to be something we go to as well.
I know guys, D1 guys, they tell me straight up that they spend more time looking at other college players than they do high schools right now. That's just their preference. Or they'll say something like, I got 3 scholarships right now. I might take 1 high school guy. I'm looking for 2 transfers. And people really don't understand, like I said at the beginning, how this market works, in a very real sense. There's X number of scholarships and there's X number of, people who want the scholarship. It's a market and it has forces and it has patterns, and you can sit back and observe these things.
It's ever changing, this transfer thing, but the new rule that you just mentioned, it only has a direct impact on Division Ones, because the kid transferring from Division One to Division Two didn't have to sit out anyway.
Yes.
The only time you had to sit out is if you transfer
2 to 2, they don't have to sit out?
No, the only place you had to sit out is if you transferred to a Division One school.
Okay.
Prior to the rule change that they're putting in now.
How about in your league in Division Two?
Well, we have a league rule where they have to sit out a league. I don't think the PSAC has that, right?
Yeah, PSAC's a little different.
Yeah, in our league, if you transfer within the league, then you got to sit out a year. But it's not an NCAA rule. That's a league rule. You can transfer D1 to D2 and play right away. D2 to D2, play right away. D3 to D2, play right away. So
this could be the most significant rule change, in terms of the dynamic of your business in our lifetime.
So what's been really hot lately, we all know, is our grad transfers, because they could play right away.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this new rule affects the grad transfers a little bit, because now everybody at Division One can play right
you're not as valuable.
Right, exactly.
I would like.
Sorry, Damien, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, good. Go ahead, Coach.
I was going to say, I think some people think this is good for the student athlete, but you lose credits when you transfer, right? And sometimes that break year lets you make up that year. So now you're in school for 5 years to play 4. So now how many guys are going to get behind the 8 ball and not be able to graduate in their 4 years because they can go play right away at a new school? So, I'm all for, student athlete power, student athlete well-being, but I'm hesitant to believe that this is the best situation for the student athlete.
At the lower Division I level, I imagine that could be an issue. I can say that from like the Colonial, the A10 on up, any kid that plays there, they'll pay for him to go to school, even if he's 40 and he wants to come back and finish. And the reason they all do that is because on the APR, say I go and find, even if Earl Monroe didn't finish at Winston-Salem in 68, if I can get him to finish now, and I had a kid that quit and left early, Earl Monroe can replace that kid right now. That's how the NCAA looks at it. So there's a lot of incentive for the schools that can afford it, the Division I schools, to go ahead and let these guys finish their courses somehow, some way at no cost.
And while they're there, they can also pay for summer classes. We can't pay for summer classes.
Yep.
I bet Wilmington probably can. I'm not sure about Westchester.
No.
Yeah, we don't pay for. I would think most D2s do not pay for summer classes, so that's a factor also.
Damien, you wanted to add something?
Lost my train of thought. What Coach Burke was saying was my same point. My concern is more when these kids are looking to transfer up a level or transfer from school to school, they're losing credits. And the bottom line is get them to graduate. But even more importantly, as you transfer, it breaks up your college experience. Mm-hmm. And you want to try to have the best college experience that you can possibly have. And by going from one school to the next, you lose that.
Exactly.
And it also breaks up your tradition and culture. of trying to graduate, good student athletes that are going to be good, productive citizens, and they're going to give back to your program and then to your university. So I don't say I'm against the transfer, because I'm as guilty as the next person as far as looking in the portal and trying to find a piece that fits that we're missing. Coach Burke and I had a conversation probably about 3 weeks ago about one of his players. But if we keep jumping into the portal and we keep entertaining every single kid that's looking to transfer, I think that sometimes we're making the situation worse.
All right. Well, look, I know, and you guys know, every time you have an opening on your staff, if the word gets out, I would imagine your phone just doesn't stop ringing. The texts don't stop until the position is filled. Like, for example, right now, Lincoln's looking for a coach. Man, they had over 100 applicants within a few days for Lincoln University, a moderately sized, modest, it's a great league, but Lincoln hadn't had a lot of success in that league. It's a decent job, not a spectacular job. I even heard Mike Bibby put in an application for that job. And I know several Division I assistant coaches in the area that put in for that job. And when you talk to the high school guys and the AAU guys, they all want a break. They want to get in. So talk about each of you, talk about your experience, how you got in, and give a little bit of advice to the guys trying to get in. Like, what are you looking for when you give a guy a shot to be on the road as an assistant coach in your programs? Dan.
Start, Dan.
Sure. So I played at Chestnut Hill College for Jesse Bowser. I was fortunate to get on the staff as soon as I graduated. There was an opening. So essentially my career was like a 4-year-long job interview. So while I was doing that, I think I got paid $1,000 a year.
Say that again, man.
Yeah, $1,000 a year. Recruiting really wasn't taken care of. So when you factor in mileage and food and all that stuff, probably losing money. But I was fortunate because I had a full-time job as a juvenile probation officer in Philadelphia. So I was able to do that, work my schedule around practice, and make sure I was handling all my business. So I did that for 5 years. And then my wife and I moved to Jersey.
You made $5,000 as an assistant.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, when you break into it, and this is what I was going to get to, you have to look at it as an investment. If you're not going to take a job when you're trying to break in because you're not making money, then you don't really want to do it, because there's not going to be opportunities for you out there unless you're extremely lucky. So after Chestnut Hill, my wife and I moved to Jersey. So I was at Camden County with Lou Batista for 1 year, and I was a counselor at Egg Harbor Township High School while I was there. Got the job at Wilmington, but even the job at Wilmington is part-time. So my first 4 years there, I was on grounds. So I was weed whacking, cutting grass, doing the gym floor, doing the trash around the athletic facility. My 5th year, I moved inside. My part-time job is with alumni, and I just recently got a full-time job in career services. So, it's not easy. So my advice to high school AAU coaches is, number one, build up genuine relationships. Like, don't just call somebody because you see they have an opening. You want to know somebody before they might have an opening. So that person knows you, knows your character. They can trust you, because that's the biggest thing. And don't expect to make a lot of money. If you're in it for the money, you're not gonna be happy, and you're gonna quit. Do it because you love to do it. Do it because you're passionate about it, and take any opportunity that comes about.
Great, Gerald.
You want to know about my journey first?
Yeah.
I didn't start until 6 years after college, and literally overnight.
High school, college. How'd you get in?
I'm going to tell you, literally overnight is how it happened for me. I was reading the local newspaper, and I saw that my high school that I went to had just hired a coach, and just like that, I said, you know what, I'm a coach. And I went to the school the next day to see if I could get the freshman at a JV job, and I ended up with the JV job. And I coached high school JV for 6 years. And then I took a part-time assistant job at NJIT, which was also my alma mater college. Worked there for 2 years. Head coach got fired. basically. I was NJIT in that second year. We had just moved into the CACC conference, which is where Bloomfield plays. So I called the Bloomfield coach to see.
How much did that part-time assistant job at NJIT pay? You was like, what, 90, 80?
Yeah. Listen, I'm gonna come to some numbers that you think you laughing at, Dan. Right now, okay, right now, I have $7,000 to field my entire staff.
Oh.
My 3 guys combined make $7,000. Yeah, the same look you got on your face. That's what everybody gets. So like you said, when people are calling me for if they think I have an opening, the second I bring up money, they're like,
Yep.
maybe not.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I called the Bloomfield guy, and he said yes to me right on the spot, which I never forgot because he saw me out hustling and recruiting all the time. And so when I called him, he didn't even do an interview. He said, "Yeah, you can join my staff, absolutely." I love that. And then a year later, he decided to take an AD job at a JUCO, and I'm my head, I'm like, oh man, again, back-to-back years, I'm gonna be out looking for jobs. But fortunately for me, Keeler Wooten, who's the AD at Bloomfield, hired me, and I've been here for 18 years. That was my journey. My advice, similar to what Dan said. First of all, you have to be willing to hustle.
Yes.
To do anything and everything. Sweep the floor, sell concessions, whatever the coach wants you to do, you need to be willing to do it. But as Dan said, building relationships is very important. I haven't been very good at networking myself, which I think factors into my inability to get a shot at D1. But network, try to be in touch with as many people as you said. Like Dan said, you don't want to, if you're cold calling for a job and the guy doesn't already know you, it's especially at Division I. Yeah, but even at our level, we all probably have guys in mind that if something opens up, I'm going to give this guy a call and see what he wants, if he wants to do. Whereas someone calling me that I've never met before, never heard of, doesn't have the greatest shot. But be willing to really work your behind off. Like you said, it's not about the money. I have one of my guys now is a volunteer, and I've had others. And what I tell those guys is, nobody else has to know that you're a volunteer. You're going to put on your resume, assistant coach at Bloomfield College. I think we're pretty good Division II program, so a good resume builder and good experience.
Damien?
Well, I started coaching when I was playing. I was trying to make some extra money on the side, and during the summers I was coaching some AAU teams and just trying to stay as active as I possibly could and doing some skill work with kids. I started my own company. And then, when I was done playing, I had to try out with the Sixers, and then I was thinking about playing overseas and was playing a little bit with the Delaware Blue Bombers, and I got a call to be the JV coach at Great Valley High School. And I was like, you know what? I love working with kids. Let me try this. And I fell in love. And, it was probably, we went 2-18 that season. But I think it was the best coaching job that I've ever done because I took chances. The kids got better. And I think one thing that coaches need to be able to do is you have to be able to win with less to be able to be competitive every year. The years that you have great teams, obviously you're going to win games. But the years where you're mediocre, you got to find ways to win. And it's only way you can do that is by coaching. So I left there and was fortunate enough to get the job, phys ed job and head coaching job at Downingtown. And I was happy. I had security. We were in the top 8
Downingtown,
district.
East, West, North, South?
It was the Downingtown. That's how old I am. So it was the Downingtown, and then they split into East and West.
Oh, okay.
And I stayed at West, where one of my assistants took the East job. But we were really successful, and I liked what I was doing. And then I got a call from my coach, said he was going to retire, and said, "Are you interested in this job?" And I said, "Heck no, I don't want your job. No security. I might get fired, lose my pension. And he said to me, he goes, "Well, look, if somebody takes this job that doesn't have the same values that you were brought up on throughout this program, how would you feel?" And I said, "Probably not good." So I applied, wound up getting the job, and the rest basically is history. But when I'm looking for coaches, I'm looking for a skill set. Can you get kids better? That's important. Can you raise money? Are you willing to do what Coach Holmes said? Are you willing to work the concession stand? Are you willing to travel to go find a kid who might be a tweener that we need to get to make our program better? So there's some factors there that you have to have in order to be successful. Can you recruit? Can you talk to donors and raise money? Do you know the X's and O's? Those are all different pieces that you need to be able to bring to the table to be successful no matter what level you're at. But the biggest thing is you got to find your niche, because everybody can't be Calipari. You know what I mean? You can't be Boeheim, and you got to find what level fits your personality and your style. So it might be high school, it could be AAU, could be junior college, could be Division II. You know what I mean? But once you find that niche and you have those other factors, I think you can be really successful.
All right. Well, look, I know all of you guys pretty well, and I know the type of job you guys do at your respective schools. But the parents and a lot of the high school players really may not be intimately aware of what you guys do at your places. Take a few minutes and explain why. Any parent, and I tell you, I get a lot of moms and dads that watch this stuff, and they email me, they text me, they ask me all kinds of questions. So I would approach it as if you're talking to mom and dad, not necessarily the kids, because I'm on Facebook a lot. I'm not on the TikTok and all that stuff. So what would you say to mom and dad? Why should they consider giving their kids to you guys to play basketball in the 10-year university? Go ahead, Damien.
For us, it's about family. That's the number one thing, and I think we've done an excellent job of keeping our kids together, whether they're playing in one particular year or they've graduated. So bridging the gap between the kids that are currently playing and our alums is big for us. But the other piece is your kid's going to graduate, and we're hoping that they're going to graduate, find their passion, and then be productive citizens and be able to give back to their community.
How big is Westchester right now? It's a growing school. It's a big demand school right now.
Yeah, it's about 18,000, 18 plus. And I think there's close to like 25 or 30,000 applicants a year. It's extremely tough to get into. Yes. But when we're selling kids, we're talking about the big three. Socially, is it a good fit? Academically, is it a good fit? And is this the brand of basketball that you like to play? And would you like to play for me? If those three things mesh, there's a good chance they're going to have a successful career and be productive. If one of those things are off, there's a chance that things are just not going to work out for you. So I think the thing that I think that makes us different from most schools is those three are really strong for us. Our location's good. Socially, things are.
Where are you geographically? Exactly where are you?
In Chester County.
How many minutes?
That's maybe 30 minutes, okay. 35 minutes. We're probably about 40, 50 minutes from Maryland. I mean, we're right smack dab in the middle of everything. You know what I mean? And the town was rated one of the best college towns in the country. So you put that in conjunction with the academic piece. When you graduate, you're going to have a great piece of paper. And then the brand of basketball. If you win our league, you got a good chance of making a run at the national championship. I mean, it's one of the toughest leagues in the country. So I think we have a pretty good product to sell. It's just if it's a good fit or not.
Mm-hmm. All right, Gerald?
Well, I don't want to be redundant, but basically everything Damien said applies to us as well. So, you want a kid that fits well socially, academically, and athletically. Damien mentioned family, and that's big with us. I talk about that. I say that every time I walk a kid around. When you walk around our campus, it's very family oriented. Everyone gets to know each other. Now we're a lot smaller. We have 1,700 students. The school is basically like a 4-block rectangle, the campus.
What percentage live on campus and what percentage commutes? You know that?
We have about 600 to 650 students that live on campus. We have 5 dorm buildings and about 10 houses that act as dorms.
Okay.
Everybody, we're walking around and everyone's saying, "Hey, what's up, coach?" From the maintenance guys to the security guys to the professors if they walk by. So I tell that. Our athletic director, Sheila Wooten, has been at the school for close to 30 years. She played there, played ball. She graduated from there, played ball there. Her oldest daughter graduated from there. I mean, it's very family-oriented. And one thing a lot of people don't know about us, but Dell obviously does, he made a sarcastic, funny earlier, is that we're actually a predominantly black school.
HBCU, baby.
So we have the designations of PBI, predominantly black institution, as well as HSI, Hispanic Serving Institution. And I'd say our overall population is probably 85% either African American or Latino.
Now, where is Bloomfield geographically?
Northern Jersey, right next to Newark.
Okay.
Essex County. So we're also very centrally located. You can jump on a bus right off of our campus and be in New York City in 20 minutes. Very easy to get to public transportation. So, similar. We're family oriented. We're looking for the young man. We're trying to do the same thing. We want to develop quality young men and make them into guys that are going to go out and be effective in society and produce and hopefully give back and help the next guy behind them.
Dan?
Yeah, so Damien mentioned a niche, and when it comes to coaching, find your niche. And I think that we definitely have a niche when it comes to being unique as a four-year institution. We can offer an experience that I don't think any other four-year has, and that we don't have dorms, right? So we are, Wilmington advertises a lot. So you see billboards, commercials on the radio, TV, and, the school model is to, cater to lifelong learners. So, families that, might have some work to do to complete their college degree. We offer flexible, affordable education to anybody. So, I think that from a student athlete perspective, that flexible education comes into play because we offer our courses in a bunch of different ways. We offer accelerated, we offer semester long, we offer hybrid, we offer online. So however it is that you learn best, there's a way for you to learn at Wilmington. I teach Social 101, which is a survey course, and it's one of the most popular courses. I've never had a class with more than 29 students in the class. So you're going to get individualized attention. You have tutors, you have academic advisors working with student athletes. So the academic part, there's more than enough help to be successful. Athletically, I think because we do cater to, the independent student athlete, we are very attractive, I think, to JUCO transfers and four-year transfers because you don't have to live around, 30 people on a dormitory floor. You can live independently. And I think we do have a decent product. We're not to the level of Bloomfield or Westchester yet, but I think when you see the progression we've made in our 6 years since our staff arrived, I think there's definite signs of progression. Like I said, we're not satisfied at all, and we have a way to go, but I think we're on the right track. So, and then again, to add what Gerald and Damien talked about with family, I think we have a great staff with guys that bring their kids around, and we're really good role models for our young men to look at, to try to be like when they graduate.
He's playing possum. Don't let him fool you. He's at that level. I'm not buying that. I got to play him next
Damien,
year.
We played you guys right before Thanksgiving. Go back and look at that score.
Got some hard. They play hard.
I'm not buying that.
Look, lastly, we've been touching on it off and on throughout this discussion, the desire, especially initially. And it's understandable because of, the Big Ten Network, the SEC Network, ESPN, Big 12, all of that stuff that everybody wants to play D1. Everyone thinks they can play D1. But I want you guys to really give a sincere and honest appraisal as to why for a lot, if not most of the kids, D2 and even D3 is a viable option for a kid that really wants to continue playing after high school. Go ahead, Damien.
I would say to those kids, stop looking at number. You need to find the best situation for you. And I think a lot of times they lose track of, what opportunities are out there for them that can put them in the best situation to develop themselves overall, academically, socially, and also from a basketball standpoint. I often tell kids, you're looking for a situation where you can make yourself a better person for 40 years, not for just 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the kids are jumping around from spot to spot, and they're just looking for that carrot. They're chasing that carrot or looking for that shiny object. And I think Division II gives you an opportunity to better yourself, as a person, as a basketball player, and those are the type of things that we got to continue to preach to our kids to be able to keep our kids at home. And it's not just words. I truly believe it. I think that's the difference between Division II and Division I at times, because they have so many resources. I think a lot of kids, fall by the wayside, whereas we can give them that individual attention that they need, to grow as a person. So, at our level, we're taking that seed and we're putting it in the dirt and we're watching it grow. Sometimes at the Division I level, they already see what the tree looks like. They're chopping it down and they're using it for shade. You know what I mean? So I think we got a good product at this level. It's great basketball, but it's not easy from a coach's standpoint. You got to do all the dirty work. You got to do those concession stands. You might be wiping up the floor, doing cleanup after a summer league game or tournament that you're running. And from a kid's standpoint, they don't get all the resources that they need at times to be successful. So they got to be they got to persevere through those situations and fight through, whether it be on the basketball court or in the classroom. I think it's an interesting time just with what we're going through with this new legislation and the portal and social media. And I think we got to get back to the basics, to be honest with you. And what was the ultimate purpose of basketball was to enjoy the game, to go out and win games, but to use it as a tool to be able to open doors for yourself later.
Gerald?
Certainly agree with what Damien said. Stop looking at number. Go where you're wanted. We all know that, first of all, the percentage of kids that play high school and then move on to college is extremely low. I want to say, 3%, something like that? Dale, you might know the numbers.
It's 500,000 of them playing high school.
Right, and I think it's 3% play college basketball at any level. So go where you're wanted. If you have the three of us recruiting you, and we've all offered scholarships, and you're not hearing from any Division I's, make your decision between the three of us. Why are you going to sit out there and keep hoping that in May, June, July, some Division I is going to come along and snatch you up? And quite frankly, if that happens, there's a very good chance that they're going to recruit over you the following year.
Your practice body at that.
Yeah, and let you go. That's one thing that happens a lot at Division I. We know, those guys that are making high six figures or seven figures, their jobs depend on all of our jobs to some extent depend on these kids. But at that level, it's high intense, and they're going to let you go if you're not performing. At our level, with very rare exception, we're not letting kids go if they're getting the job done in the classroom. Even if they don't turn out to be what we had hoped for on the court, it's highly unlikely that we're going to let them go. It's still, they're going to stay with us. They're going to probably keep their scholarship, and they're going to hopefully graduate from college. So go where you're wanted. There's nothing wrong with that. I played Division III basketball myself, enjoyed it, got my degree, and like you said, stop worrying about the level and go where there's a good fit and go where you're wanted.
Dan?
I think the biggest thing families and student athletes have to ask themselves is, why do you want to play Division I? Is it because you want the congratulations on social media?
Yes.
Because your trainer or your AU coach, it's good for their brand. Why do you want to play Division I? If it's for any other reason besides, I believe in the coach I'm committing to, I believe in the school, it's best for me academically, socially, athletically, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. I think there's also a misconception that's saying, well, I'll just go D2 because I'll be able to score 20. It's better to score 20 a game at D2 than it is to score 6 a game at D1. It's not a given you're going to score 20 a game at D2.
Mm-hmm.
Go watch Westchester. I believe Jefferson would have been top 3 in most low major conferences this year. Merrimack just won their conference with the same team that they competed at the D2 level.
Yes.
So I think that the difference in talent is very negligible, and you have to go find the best fit. And what I tell recruits is that it's all about the people that you surround yourself with. Like, I've never seen a nice gym write a recommendation letter for a job. I've never seen a quad, right, with manicured grass go to a baptism. I've never seen any of that stuff. So it's all about the people you surround yourself with, and do they have your best interests at heart? And if you're choosing a school because of a level or any other reason than the people, then you're doing it the wrong way. So, but I think people realize that after the first 1 or 2 years, because you might commit to a D1 or the highest level you could go to and realize I'm not happy because they didn't want me in the first place. And I don't care how nice the gym is. These people around me don't really care about me. So I'm going to go somewhere, and they learn their lesson after their second, third year in college. So that's my take on it.
Well, look, I really appreciate you guys. And I think all of you know that on any given day, I am out here endorsing strongly all three of these programs. I think that parents need to take a very hard look at the programs at Bloomfield. That's a real HBCU, folk. I've been up there, man. Marching bands and all that, man. They got it all, man. Bloomfield, Westchester, and Wilmington are fine college basketball programs, and I would send my son or daughter to work for or play for any of these guys any day. I appreciate you guys coming out. I thank you for sharing all this information with our listeners. And as soon as the outside is open again, man, I'll make my way up to see all of you guys.
Hey, Del.
Yeah.
I know all of us are going crazy in between these four walls with this quarantine, but I just want to say, man, I appreciate you and the platform that you've created for parents, coaches and kids to be able to get information, you know what I mean, be entertained, and you know how you do it every now and stir the pot too. So you can't leave the stirring the pot piece out. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have much to do. So it's Black Cater all day, every day for me until we get out of this quarantine, brother.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
I agree. Also, I'm huge Del Greco Black Cager fan. First of all, for myself, I reached out to Del several years ago. I hadn't made many inroads in Philly. I told Del that's what I wanted to do. And now, basically, because of Del, I'm fairly well entrenched with a number of Philly guys. But even more importantly, like Damien said, what Del does for all Philly area basketball players and athletes, and in particular African-American men in general, he's made inroads for coaches down that way. I'm a big fan, Del, and I thank you for having me on the show.
Don't leave out Dan. I try to help Dan, man.
I need to make it feel even better. No, I really appreciate
Dan's a brother anyway.
Yeah, he is.
Shoot, look at us. We the same complexion.
Right. I guess I'm the dark-skinned one in this group, right?
No, you see me blushing though. I blush when you no, but I appreciate the platform, what you do for small colleges like us, and really this, at the end of the day, it's what's best for the student athlete. Like, you are giving the student athlete the reality of what college basketball is, and not just what people think it is from the rest of the media. So, I thank you, but I think that the parents and student athletes should thank you as well, because you're doing this. So, thank you for that, and thank you for the platform.
Well, since y'all bringing it up, tomorrow I got Wooger's father, I have Rasul Diggins' father, and Jalen Stenson's father. That's 50, 60 high major, mid-major scholarships between those kids. And we're going to talk about this recruitment process. I don't know if any of them are going to fall to the D2 level.
Well, do me a favor, though. Tell them if it doesn't work out, I got we'll make it work. We'll figure out a way.
I really appreciate you guys, man. Like I said, I'll see y'all soon. Thanks.
You guys.
You guys.
You too.